Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA legend Dan Henderson. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. Dan, we usually do this segment at the end of the interview, but I thought today we'd change up things and do this segment for the entire interview. The name of the segment is called Really Random. That's where I ask you a random question and you give me the real answer. Some of these questions are custom made just for you, and some of these questions are generic ones that I ask all the people I interview. So here's the first question. Superpower you'd love to have?
I guess invisibility. So you can't see where I'm punching from.
Favorite movie?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I like a lot of the Avenger movies.
Movie you've seen the most times?
Probably Gladiator.
Favorite color?
Red, white, and blue. It's not really one color.
Favorite guilty pleasure?
Chocolate chip cookies.
You're fighting Lyoto Machida on April 16th at UFC on Fox 19 in a rematch of a fight that took place back at UFC 157. The fight was very close. You lost the fight by split decision. Personally, I had scored the fight for you. I thought you had done enough to win that fight, but obviously the judges didn't see it that way and gave the decision to Machida. What do you remember about that first fight, and did you think you had done enough to win the fight?
Well, I mean, I thought I had done enough to win as well. With him running the whole time, that's pretty much what I remember. Just, him scoring a takedown right at the end of the first, but, just kind of tripped my foot and the round was over. I don't know. It just seemed like he didn't go in there to fight. He went in there to kind of, try to score a little bit of points and run the whole time. And hopefully I can get in his face a little better this time.
In the past, I've seen you quoted in articles that I've read on the internet. I see quotes from you all the time talking about rematches that you would like to have, and I keep seeing Vitor Belfort, Anderson Silva, and Gegard Mousasi. Those are the names that keep coming up. Obviously, the articles are a little bit dated because since the articles were published, you fought against Vitor, but still, Anderson Silva and Gegard Mousasi, they're still out there, and those are guys in those articles you mentioned by name. But in these articles, you've never mentioned Lyoto Machida, and here you are getting ready to have a rematch against him. So is this a fight that behind the scenes, secretly and quietly, is this a rematch that you've wanted? Have you wanted another crack at Machida? Or is this just a coincidence that you fought him once before and they just happened to offer you another fight against him? Why were you never mentioning Machida in those articles, and why has this fight come together?
This is just the fight they offered me, and I usually say okay. So, I just, in my mind, I thought I did enough to win, but, I just didn't think he has the most exciting style that the fans want to see me fight. So, it's kind of why I didn't really think about a rematch with him.
So far, how much training have you done getting ready for this fight? Because obviously the fight was just recently announced, and the fight is, at this point, 2 months away. So how much training have you done specifically for Machida to get ready for this fight?
Probably the last couple weeks. I just found out a couple weeks ago, so that gives me about 10 weeks of training camp.
Are you going to bring in anyone this time around to help you get ready for Machida? In the past, you fought against him, so you're familiar with him, and even though he does have an awkward style, you do have a leg up because you've fought against him in the past. Are you going to bring in anyone to help you get ready for this fight, or because you are familiar with him, having fought him in the past, you're not going to do it this time around? Are you going to bring in anyone to help you get ready?
Not yet. I got, probably a couple different guys that are going to come in that are lefties. And I got a couple guys at my training camp that I think will be pretty good training partners that mimic Machida pretty well. So, I think I'll have that covered. Obviously, he's got a different style, and he's a tough guy to mimic in practice. But I think my guys will do a pretty good job. And regardless, most of the time with my fights, the most important thing is conditioning.
It seems like you guys are pretty much the same fighters. Yeah, it was 3 years ago. Yeah, you guys have improved in certain areas, but it seems like this is pretty much the same fight. It's just going to come down to who makes those little adjustments, because obviously the last fight between you and Machida was very close, and if you had done a little bit more, it would have been clear for you, and had he done a little bit more, it would have been clear for him. It was a very close fight and a very competitive fight. Is that just what you have to worry about, just making those little adjustments, or is this a completely different fight?
Obviously little adjustments make a big difference a lot of times, and I think that's what it is making those little adjustments and then capitalizing on mistakes that he makes a little better. I was coming off of a pretty good knee injury the last time I fought him, so I just really wasn't as mobile as I am now, and against somebody like Machida, mobility is key. So, I feel like I'll be coming in a little bit healthier for this one than I did the last one.
I think the game plan, not for this fight, but the game plan for your career is on April 16th, you're going to knock out Lyoto Machida, and then you're going to come back and fight at UFC 200. Is that the plan? Am I right?
It's not the plan, but, I think that might be pretty cool to happen. Since I fought on UFC 100, might as well fight on 200, huh?
Right. That's what I thought. My gut feeling is that you're going to fight until you're 50. Right now, you're 45 years old. I think you got 5 more years in you. What say you? Are you going to fight until you're 50?
No, I highly doubt it, but I think it's a possibility. I mean, I'm definitely feel like I'm capable of doing that. As I've gotten older, I've gotten smarter, and my body's feeling pretty good still. But it takes a lot of time to get prepared for fights, and a lot of sacrifices go in with that, and we'll see. I'd like to see what type of retirement package the UFC might want to offer me to not fight anymore, but I'm having fun doing it still, so I'm not really worried about it right now.
How have you been able to fight for as long as you have? Because there's a lot of people who would say that your career should have been over about 9 or 10 years ago because of the damage, the mileage that you've put on your body over the course of not just your mixed martial arts career, but your amateur wrestling career. There's a lot of people who would say that you should have been retired by now. What's the secret? How have you been able to stay in the game so long? Did you and Randy Couture, I know you guys trained together in the past, did you guys develop the fountain of youth and you're just not telling anybody about it?
Yeah, I wish. I don't know. I think it's just our mentality with training and making sure we train smart, but kind of evolve with the sport and learn as you go, and the more you improve and the more experience you have, the less toll it takes on your body. So my body feels better now than when I was wrestling. It's just a lot less competition. Fighting about 3 times a year is different than 40 or 50 matches in a year.
How many fights do you have left on your UFC contract?
1. This would be the last one on my contract, and we'll see what happens.
So does that mean after this fight you're going to test free agency? Because I know your old buddy Scott Coker over at Bellator, I know they would welcome you with open arms because there's a lot of great fights for you over there, whether it's at heavyweight, light heavyweight, or at middleweight. There's a lot of great fighters that I'm sure they would love to have you fight. Guys like Kimbo Slice, King Mo, Chris Lieben, Melvin Manhoff, Tito Ortiz. If he signs with Bellator, Vanderlei Silva, you guys can complete your trilogy if Vanderlei decides to go to Bellator. So there's a lot of great fights for you over there. And also, Ryzen over in Japan, I'm sure Saki Kabara, who you fought for when you were fighting for Pride, since he's back in the MMA game, I'm sure he would be interested in having you go over to Japan and fight. So you have a lot of options. After this fight, will you test free agency?
No, I mean, I'm very happy staying with the UFC, and we're just going to talk about things after this fight.
Hobbies outside of fighting?
I like to hunt and go boating with the kids, and we go to the lake quite a bit during the summertime and kind of do that kind of thing, and been doing a lot of jeeping as well over the last 2 or 3 years.
Favorite food?
Probably a nice, big, juicy ribeye steak or something like that.
Least favorite food?
Liver.
Favorite restaurant?
I don't know if I have a favorite restaurant. I probably like to eat sushi the best, and we got a place in Temecula here that's got great sushi, Jin Sushi. So maybe that place.
Do you have any pre-fight rituals or superstitions?
Nope, just make sure I'm in shape. My pre-fight ritual.
Do you have any post-fight rituals?
Yeah, drink a beer. Pretty much do that after every fight.
What motivates you, both in life and in fighting?
I guess sometimes the challenge of things, and it's just I enjoy life, and I enjoy being around my kids and doing things with them, and I enjoy my job as well. So I think they're both challenging sometimes, and I just enjoy the challenge of being able to overcome the bigger challenges.
Besides fighting, what are you passionate about?
My family, my wife.
What are you eating there?
My lunch.
I heard you crunching something, so I was...
That was broccoli.
Oh, nice. I like broccoli. That's good. Now, so many people say that the one thing missing from your career is a UFC title belt. That's what I keep hearing. Everyone says it. You had the Pride belts, you had the Strikeforce belt, you won the welterweight Grand Prix in Pride, you have all these accolades, you also won a UFC tournament a long time ago, but everyone says that the one thing missing from your career is that UFC belt. Does that bother you, not having that belt?
No, it doesn't bother me. Obviously, it's a goal of mine, but I haven't achieved every goal that I've set in my life, but and I'm perfectly content not ever getting that belt. Obviously it's still a goal, but I'm a little farther from it than I was a couple years ago.
One thing I've always wanted to ask you is, had you won a UFC title belt, how different would your life be? Because you seem like a guy who has everything a guy would ever want. You have a great wife, you have some nice kids, you got a great gym, you're making money, you're one of the icons in this industry. You have pretty much everything that people strive for, regardless of what their career is, whether it's fighting or outside of fighting, just being one of the top people in their industry. You are that guy, and you have a nice life outside of fighting. So what would your life look like had you become UFC champion? How would your life be better had you become UFC champion? Would your life be better, and in what way would your life be better had you become UFC champion? Because, like I said, you seem like a guy who has everything already, so how would your life be different had you become UFC champion?
I don't know. Possibly, had I not got injured against John Jones and done it then, I would have been retired by now and been enjoying a little more time with my kids and probably been a little bit better off financially. But, I love my life. I love my family and everything that I have. So I have no complaints at all about anything. And I still strive to improve and get better and try to be the best person I can.
Is that still the plan, to try to make a title run?
I don't know. I think right now I've shortened my goals, and just one fight at a time, and it didn't go well the last fight, and I just want to make sure that doesn't happen this fight. So I need to make sure that I beat Machida and go on from there.
Why are so many people fascinated and obsessed with your fake teeth? Because I remember back to UFC 71 when you walked into the octagon to set up the next fight that eventually took place at UFC 75 against Quentin Rampage Jackson. When you guys were setting up that fight, Rampage kept trying to get you to take out your fake teeth and show the world that you had your front four teeth missing. He kept trying to get you to do that. And also when I go Google you and do a Google image search on you, that's one of the options. Dan Henderson teeth. It's right at the top of the screen there. I can search pictures of you. I can go through pictures of you that have your teeth in, your teeth out, all kinds of stuff. And then I remember an episode of King of Queens. There's a part in the episode where you actually take your teeth out and show the world that you have those front four teeth missing. So people have this obsession with your fake teeth. Why is that? Why are so many people obsessed with the fact that you have your front four teeth missing?
I don't know. That's a question probably for them. I'm not obsessed with them. I just like to have them in when I'm in public, but I don't know. People like to see something a little different, and a guy without front teeth is kind of funny, I guess.
I hope you're not offended by these next two questions, but I really want to know, and I've wanted to know for a very long time, how did you lose those teeth? I was wrestling in practice when I lost the first one. Right before I made the 92 Olympic team, about 10 days before the trials. And then 4 years later, I kind of got the other ones knocked out a little bit. And I think I had a bridge put in, and Randy knocked out the bridge in practice with a little jab, just kind of hit me right. Didn't hurt, just kind of broke some teeth. Are those front four the only teeth you're missing?
Yep, my front four teeth.
If you could stay one age forever, how old would you stay and why?
I don't know, maybe between 35 and 40, somewhere in there. I don't know, I just felt the best physically and well, I don't know, I feel pretty good now, but I don't know, just before you get to that 40-year-old mark, still in your 30s is always a nice thing, and I wouldn't want to be in my 20s, so.
Favorite social media platform?
Probably Twitter, but I'm kind of liking Instagram a little better. I'm still not very good on either one of them. My wife has to help me post stuff sometimes when I'm having trouble, but it's all fun for me.
Website you visit most often?
I don't know. I try not to. I don't know. Probably stuff in my kids' schools. There are 2 or 3 different schools that they go to. I'm always trying to keep track of them.
Okay.
And current events. So nothing spectacular.
Piece of technology you can't live without?
Probably just like everybody else. The cell phone age has taken over everyone's life. So mine too, I guess.
If you could trade places with anyone in the world for a week, who would you trade places with and why?
Well, I don't know. I could probably use some time to think about that one and do some damage with it, but I don't think I'd want to trade places with anybody. Like I said, I love my life.
Interesting. Because a lot of people would want to trade places with you for a week.
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, I mean, it's true. You're an icon in this industry, so some people would want to see how you live for a week, I'd assume. Do you have any regrets, whether it's personal or professionally? Do you have any regrets?
No, I mean, obviously I've made mistakes, but, a lot of those mistakes kind of mold who you are as a person and as an athlete as well. So, not really. I don't have any regrets that I feel completely that I want to erase out of my life. No.
You have the Strikeforce light heavyweight belt, the Pride 183-pound welterweight belt. You have the Pride 205-pound middleweight belt, and you also have the Pride welterweight Grand Prix belt. So you have those 4 belts. Out of those 4, do you have a favorite?
The Strikeforce belt looks pretty nice, but the Pride Grand Prix belt, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite. Maybe the Pride 205-pound belt, knowing that it was Vanderlei's belt that he had in his possession for 5 years, and now I have it. But I don't know. They all have special meaning to me.
Mm-hmm. How heavy is the Grand Prix belt? It looks like a beast. How heavy is that thing?
That's probably the most heavy out of the 4. And then the Strikeforce belt is probably the next one. But I don't know. I've never weighed it, but it's definitely a lot heavier than the other ones.
Where do you keep these belts? Do you have them mounted on the wall at your gym, or do you have a shrine to yourself at your house? Where do you keep these belts? And also, do you wear them around?
Never. For a while they were kind of collecting dust in like a tub somewhere, and or in my closet, and my wife finally got them displayed in my house, fairly nice. So, if it wasn't for her, they'd be collecting dust somewhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's not the reason why I still compete, and I don't feel the need to kind of brag about them all the time or have them out, but they do kind of look nice being out.
I was just teasing you about wearing those belts. I know you don't do that. I was just kidding about that. But is it true that at one point in time you had one of your belts tucked underneath the passenger side seat of your car? Is that true?
That might be true. For a while I kind of forgot it in there to or from the gym for some reason.
Okay.
It got left in my car.
You've had an amazing career. For me to even call your career an amazing career is an understatement. That's how good your career has been. There's guys who are coming up right now who would give their right arm to accomplish a quarter of the stuff you accomplished over the course of your career. That's how great your career has been. You've had memorable moments, memorable knockouts. You've been champion. You've done a lot of great things in this sport. But is there a moment that sticks out to you above the rest of your great moments in this sport? What do you consider the best moment of your career?
Probably knocking out Vanderlei and getting that second Pride belt. Something that I didn't think, too much of at the time, but, nobody's ever done that before and or since. So, that was one of the probably the biggest event in my career, for sure.
Do you remember what you said to Jerry Millen when you guys were doing your post-fight interview at Pride 33? When you addressed the crowd, you said a great line. You said, "You can come to my after party," and then you named off whatever club in Las Vegas you were having your after party at. You said, "You can come to my after party at whatever the club was, or you can go to Vanderlei's after party at the hospital." That's the line you said after that fight. Do you remember that post-fight interview?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I went to his after party also.
Oh.
I broke my hand in that fight.
Yeah. Isn't that what happened? You broke your right hand, so you knocked him out with the left.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I broke it in the first round, but it didn't affect me one bit. I didn't feel it after the first round break. I felt it during the break, and then just kind of put it out of my mind and kept punching with it, and it didn't bother me until after the fight was over. Then it didn't feel so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great line. I love that line. I can't believe no one has used it since then. That's a great line. I always wanted to compliment you on that. Also, speaking of that Vanderlei Silva fight, do you remember the pre-fight video that they showed before the fight started? There's a great moment at the end of the video. You're shooting a bow and arrow, and you hit him right between the eyes. There's a picture of Vanderlei Silva you're using as a target, and you hit him right between the eyes, this arrow that you shot, and you hit him right between the eyes, and you do this evil laugh at the end of it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. It was kind of a funny moment, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. You were on a roll. You were on a roll at that point in time. That was great. I love that video. Do you still live on that same ranch from that video?
Yes, I still live here.
Okay.
Same place.
Okay. How big is this ranch? How many acres do you have?
It's 5 acres. It's huge, but it definitely gives me some space.
Do you have a lot of animals on this ranch? Because in that video, they're showing you on horseback. So do you have a lot of animals at this ranch?
Yeah, I have a couple horses still, and dogs, and that's about it.
Who's the best guy you ever fought? Obviously, we could be here all day listing off the names of guys that you fought. You fought a who's who in this sport. But who's the best guy, in your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say. There's guys that are great at certain things and other guys that are great at other things. And, overall, it's hard to say. Yeah, there's no way I could probably even answer that one.
Mm-hmm. How about this one? Who's the toughest guy that you ever fought?
Probably Shogun.
Is there any fighter who you never got a chance to fight against that you would have liked to? Because there's a couple guys who fans on forums and on Facebook and on Twitter, when I see stuff like this, it kind of grabs my attention because it's kind of fun to think about fights that could have happened. But the two fights that your name is always attached to are a fight against John Jones, and for obvious reasons, because you guys were supposed to fight, and then a fight against Chuck Liddell. A lot of people say they would have loved to have seen a prime Dan Henderson versus a prime Chuck Liddell, but that's just what the people want. I want to hear what you think. Is there a fighter out there, whether they're currently retired or currently active, that you never got a chance to fight against that you would have liked to have fought?
No. I mean, I never wanted to fight with Chuck Liddell. I mean, sure. I've always been somewhat friends with him and respected him as a fighter, and was scheduled to fight the winner of him and Rampage. Had he won, I would have fought him. But no one comes to mind that I wish I would have fought at all. I feel like I've fought most everybody that fits that description. Pretty much. John Jones is probably the only one that comes to mind.
In the past, you've had a few nicknames. At one point in time, you were Dangerous Dan, then you were Hollywood Henderson, now you're Hendo. Why have you decided to stick with Hendo over the rest?
I never liked Hollywood. It just didn't fit me. And then there was quite a few nicknames going around when I was fighting in Japan quite a bit, and I'm sure I had a few, but I don't know. Hendo just kind of fits me a little better, and it's just kind of a short part of my name. It doesn't. I don't know. I never liked the Dangerous Dan type thing, or the different descriptive names. It's just I'd rather have my name be shortened, and that'd be my nickname.
Favorite band and or solo artist?
I don't know if I have a favorite band. I've got a few buddies that sing country music, and definitely would be a country artist. But I've got a number of friends that are good singers. I really like Toby Keith. That's whose song I walk out to, and a good friend of mine wrote that song as well. So it's got a little bit extra meaning knowing that. So it's I don't know, probably him.
Favorite TV show, and it can be a show currently on the air or a show that's no longer on the air. Just overall favorite TV show.
Yeah, there's quite a few that I like. Maybe The Blacklist is a current one. Into the Badlands is pretty good too. So I don't know. I don't really have a favorite one, but I've got a few that I watch.
Let's say you found a magic lamp and you rubbed that magic lamp and a genie appeared and the genie said he was going to grant you 3 wishes. What would those 3 wishes be?
Obviously, maybe a couple of my goals that I didn't achieve. With the Olympic gold medal was one of them. UFC belt, and other than that, I just like I said, I love my life and my wife and everybody else around me. So I'm pretty content with how things are.
If you weren't a professional mixed martial artist, what would your job be?
Probably I was going to go into chiropractic school and decided to put it off and started fighting instead, and maybe a chiropractor.
If you could go on a $1 million shopping spree at any store, what store would you go on that $1 million shopping spree at?
Bass Pro Shop, of course.
I had a feeling you were going to go with that. Number 1 thing on your bucket list?
I don't know, go travel and visit somewhere I haven't been, either China or Egypt.
Time period you'd like to go back and visit, and why?
From what I hear, 20s are pretty cool. But I don't know. I kind of like the time we're living in right now.
What's your porn star name? If you combine your childhood pet with the street you grew up on, what's your porn star name?
Freckles, Riverside.
That's funny. That's funny. What's your hidden talent?
I don't know. I like to cook. I'm pretty good at that.
What's your specialty?
I don't know. I make some pretty good tacos. All different kinds.
I've heard you make some great, they're like peppers on a grill with cheese and sour cream and chicken or some sort of meat on there. Is that true?
Yeah, that could be. We do quite a bit of different types of grilling during the summertime especially.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change and why?
Probably the obvious one where, everything's peaceful and everybody gets along. It would probably make life a lot simpler worldwide.
Dan, last question. Let's say you were on death row and about to be executed. What would your last meal be? And I need an entree, a dessert, and a beverage. What would your last meal be if you were on death row?
Probably the biggest porterhouse steak out there, and creme brulee for dessert, and definitely a beer for a drink.
Dan, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Thanks to Clinch Gear for always being there and for me, and protein shakes from Rev Labs keeps my body going, and other than that, just thanks to the fans for always supporting me and being there for me as well. So it's been great to be a part of the sport for such a long time, and it's been fun to watch the ride it's gone on.
Dan, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck April 16th at UFC on Fox 19 against Lyoto Machida.
Well, thank you. No problem at all.